We have 10 of my favourite cold weather or winter fragrances to talk about today. We have mainly a mix of designer fragrances with some niche fragrances thrown in as well, and a discontinued fragrance that I think is amazing. Now, the last fragrance is going to be my absolute favourite release of the last year and one of the best designer fragrances that you can buy at the moment. But let's start off with the first one. It's a niche fragrance and it is Mancera's Red Tobacco. Now, this is such a good fragrance for the cold weather because of the strength of this, and also that you're getting a fragrance that is similar to a fragrance that's more expensive than this is. This is similar to Parfums de Marly's Carlisle, but not as smooth and perhaps not as high quality as Carlisle. However, once it dries down, this is a fantastic fragrance. The opening can just be maybe a tiny bit rough, but really it's still a really nice smelling fragrance, but the dry down is superb. This is tobacco, it's spices and green apple. It's a really wonderful fragrance for the cold weather and the performance is spectacular. I'm going to label these from 10 to 1, but they're really not in any particular order, just the last one is my absolute favourite. So number 9, this is Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Prive. I have spoken about this a lot on my channel because it's such a brilliant designer fragrance. It's similar to fragrances like Dior Homme Intense, like Valentino Uomo Intense, and like Givenchy Gentleman EDP. It has that iris note, the iris done in a masculine designer way, but this has a added note of whiskey. So this is boozy, it's woody, it has a formal smell to it, so it's really good to wear to formal occasions. But this could also be worn on a date night. It has the perfect blend of woodiness, sweetness, and booziness to make it an excellent date night fragrance and a really good cold weather winter fragrance. Now, number 8, moving back on to a niche fragrance, and it's one of the strongest niche fragrances I have got, and that is Initio Oud For Greatness. Now, what I love about this is it's a really good introduction to oud smelling fragrances, because oud, the note of oud, can be really difficult to wear. It can be challenging depending on what kind of oud it is, depending on how it's made, with what other fragrance materials, what other fragrance notes. But in here, it comes across as quite an easy to wear oud fragrance, but actually Oud For Greatness can be a little bit challenging because of the spiciness. It's really spicy. It's not very smooth exactly. You wouldn't call it a smooth fragrance. It's spicy, it's rough, and I think the mixes of spices and oud just make it a really strong and domineering fragrance. It's great for the cold weather. I only wear this in the cold weather because of the scent profile. But as I said, it's one of the longest lasting fragrances in my collection and a great introduction to oud fragrances. 7, a designer fragrance, one of the best ones, Stronger With You Intensely. Yes, I know everyone talks about it, but when a lot of people talk about designer fragrances and they're really popular, a lot of the time they're popular for a reason. This one, out of the whole Stronger With You line, which there is now, I don't know, about 6 or 7 if you count the Dubai or UAE exclusive line, this is still one of the best out of the Stronger With You line, and arguably for value for money and just all-round usability, it's the best one, because you still get the beautiful Stronger With You DNA with the chestnut, with the sort of toffee chestnut note, and also the lavender. So it's kind of a mix of the nutty sweetness from toffee and chestnut, but then you have lavender and these sort of white floral notes which balance out the sweetness and actually make it quite a fresh fragrance. So you could wear this pretty much all year round, but because of the sweetness, works really well in cold weather, and the performance of this is brilliant. Stronger With You Intensely is a room filler, so really good to wear in the cold weather. 6, Nouveau Monde. Surely one of the best from Louis Vuitton, which is quite hard to say because Louis Vuitton has so many amazing fragrances. This one, in my opinion, is better than Ombre Nomade, even though Ombre Nomade or Nomada is a more expensive fragrance, quite a lot actually. The price difference is quite a lot. They are kind of similar, but there's also some differences as well. I have done a review before of these two fragrances, so you should check that out on my channel. But they have a sort of similar scent profile, but Nouveau Monde is sweeter, has a cacao or chocolate note with animalic notes, so you get this kind of strong, dominant smell with these sweet cacao notes, along with oud, along with leather, and along with some spices. This one is an absolute beast on my skin, really excellent performance, and yes, it's a cold weather winter fragrance, in my opinion. However, this is great for a night out because it's a fragrance that gets you noticed. It's a head turner. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Number 5, a discontinued fragrance fragrance, which I promised we would talk about. Vanille Fatale by Tom Ford. Now, I understand they have brought this back in a new style bottle, which I've not tried, so I do not know if it's anywhere near the same as this, so I really can't give you my review of the new version. But this is seriously fantastic. In terms of vanilla fragrances, if vanilla is your thing, this is a must try. I know it's discontinued, but if you can, try and find it for a decent price. It's really excellent if you like sweet vanilla fragrances. It's not just vanilla though, it's vanilla, it's rum, it's vanilla and it's booziness. It has this beautiful rum note, so it's vanilla, rum. You have also this kind of fruitiness in here as well. But it's just it's sweet and boozy. It is really excellent. And again, with these old Tom Ford fragrances, the performance is wonderful. This is Vanille Fatale, and it's a brilliant cold weather fragrance. But because it's discontinued, I don't really wear it that often, which maybe is a bit stupid of me. Now, moving on to the next one from the Christian Dior line, the Prive line. This is Vanilla Diorama. Now, this also has some similar notes that's in Vanille Fatale that we just looked at, but they don't smell the same. This is still a boozy vanilla fragrance. So Vanille Fatale is a boozy vanilla fragrance, but it doesn't go as deep as Vanille Fatale. It hasn't got that kind of thick, syrupy sweetness that Vanille Fatale has. This actually stays much more on the fresh side of vanilla, because vanilla can be heavy and syrupy, but also it can be airy and fresh. And in here, to me, it comes across more on the airy and fresh side, and I think that's because of the fruity notes in the opening. This one can be compared to Roja Enigma a little bit to me. They're perhaps like 60% similar, maybe even 50%. It has just a slightly similar vibe to it, or Tonka Cola by Mancera, but this is much higher quality than Tonka Cola and much more enjoyable. If I had to pick between this and Tonka Cola, I'm choosing this all day long. This is brilliant. This is Vanilla Diorama, and I would wear this almost as an everyday fragrance in the cold weather. I think it works really well for that occasion. Now we're on to the last three already. Fahrenheit Le Parfum. I've spoken about this a lot on this channel. One of the best, if not the best, designer fragrance that you can buy. It's the old school Fahrenheit, but made thicker, boozier, more modern and sweeter. This is really wonderful, and on my skin the performance of this is wonderful, and it's one of those fragrances that really give me confidence, and that's one of the reasons why I love wearing fragrances. Now the last two, remember the last one I promised you was going to be the best designer release of the year, so we'll get to that in a moment, but let's talk about By the Fireplace first. This is really cool because it doesn't smell exactly like a typical fragrance. You know, if you smell Stronger With You Intensely, you know it's a men's perfume. It smells like how men's perfume should. You know it's got some aroma chemicals in here that smell like a perfume, okay? I hope that makes sense to you. But this one, on the other hand, has a much more photorealistic smell to it, more of a natural smell, if you like. And it does smell like sitting by a fireplace. On the description it says burning wood and chestnut, and you could really imagine being sat by a fireplace in the open wood, burning some marshmallows, because there is some sweetness in here. So I really imagine burning some sort of marshmallows with some charcoal wood, and it just gives you that kind of photorealistic, wintry feeling, and I think that's wonderful. And this is an eau de toilette, but the performance of this is brilliant for eau de toilette. And when I wear this in the winter, I have been noticed quite a few times before, and people have asked me when I'm wearing By the Fireplace. Now the last one, this is a new release, and I think it's the best release of the year so far, and it's Boss Bottled Absolu. It's not Absolute, which was another old flanker from Hugo Boss. This is Absolu, and this one does have some similarities to the Boss Bottled Elixir, which was a massive hit last year and a fantastic fragrance. But also there are some sort of similarities to Parfums de Marly Carlisle, kind of. It's got like some real, not like a clone of it exactly. It's not like where you can go, oh, they smell really similar, but there's just some hints of it, hints of Carlisle in here. There's some hints of the original Boss Bottled Elixir. It's just brilliant. It smells fantastic. I love what they've done with this. It's resinous, it's thick, it's sweet, and it has a really nice patchouli note. So it does have this kind of woody, earthy feeling in the base note, but you've got these myrrhs and resins on top of that. And it's sweet and it's dense. This would work really good for a date night because it has the perfect amount of sweetness for that, and smells masculine but not old school. So I think this would be excellent for a date night, but also cold weather, and the performance of this is really good. So these are 10 fragrances that I love to wear in the wintertime and cold weather. I hope you find something in here that you really like, and I'd love to hear what are your thoughts on some of these fragrances. See you soon.